Hi, this video is to help you make sure that you are on the right track on the how many groups. Um, and I'm going to do four examples, kind of four examples from the middle of the lesson. All right, this is the first example. In your copy, this had a typo. It should say, to make sense of the question, how many 2/3 are in one? Andre wrote equations and drew a tape diagram. Explain how Andre's tape diagram can help us solve the equation. Use the drawing tools to clarify. Okay. Right. So we talked about this one during class. We saw in division, we're making equal groups. So we saw that I can make one group and then I have some left over. That's how much a second group would be. So to make two groups, I would need 2/3, but I only have half. I only have this half right here. So I have one part, but I need two parts to make a group. So this is 1/2 of a group. So 1 divided by 2/3 is 1.5. And 1.5 times 2/3 equals 1. Okay. So then to explain this, I could say this. In the tape diagram, I see that each group is composed of two parts. I have one whole group and one part left over. If I have one part, but I need two parts to make one group, I can make half of the next group. So the answer is 1.5. All right. Here's the next one. How many 3/4 are in one? Draw a type diagram to represent the situation. Use the grid to help you draw if needed. Okay. So I need to represent one, but I need to represent it. It's helpful to represent it in a way that where it's easy to show 3/4. So I'm going to draw my one to be this big. I'm going to do 4 units to be my one. Like four grids to be my one because I need to do 3/4. So how many 3/4 are in one? Well, here's one group of 3/4. So that's one group. But then the next group would be this. The next group would be this. Okay, so I don't have enough to make the next group. To make the next group, I have one part, but I need 1, 2, 3 blocks. So 1 divided by 3/4 is going to be 1 and 1/3 because I can make one whole group and 1/3 of the next group. All right, so a multiplication equation would be 1 and 1/3 times 3/4 equals 1. And then a division equation, 1 divided by 3/4 equals 1 and 1/3. And the answer is 1 and 1/3. And now that I think about it, you can, if you are writing equations and you haven't done that part yet, you can represent the unknown value or the answer with a question mark. So there you go. Okay, that's the second one. Third one, how many 2/3 are in 3? All right, since I'm dividing by something that's in thirds, I'm going to make each. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's my 3. how many 2/3? So that's one group of 2/3. That's two groups of 2/3. That's three groups of 2/3. That's four groups of 2/3. And then I have that little piece left over. All right. So what do we see here? I see one group. I see two groups. I see three groups. I see four groups. And then this one, I would need it to go one more square. Each group has two pieces in it. I've got one piece. I need two pieces to make a group. So it's 4.5 is my answer there. So the multiplication equation, what number times 2/3 equals 3? The division equation, 3 divided by 2/3 equals my answer. And then we just found the answer was 4.5. 4.5 times 2/3. And you can check it. 4.5 times 2/3. If you remember, when we're multiplying fractions, I need to change things to improper fractions first, or fraction greater than 1. So 4 is the same thing as 8 halves, and I have another half, so that's 9 halves times 2/3. 9 times 2 is 18. 2 divided by 3 is 6. And then I can reduce that to lowest terms, which would be 3. And remember, if you notice these things, 2 divided by 2, that's just going to be 1. And 9 divided by 3, that's going to be 3, which gives us the same answer. So this is how you could check it. All right, and then last one. How many 3/2 are in 5? Okay, so I need 5. I'm going to make my ones 2 squares long because I'm doing halves. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is my 5. This represents 5. And the question is, how many 3/2? So each group, there's 1, 2, 3/2. That's 1. And then 1, 2, 3/2. That's 2. And then 1, 2, 3/2. That's 3. And then 1. That's what I have left over. That's the piece that I have left over. So before we go to doing the answer, multiplication, division. Division is going to be 5 divided by 3/2 equals, I'm not sure what. And the multiplication is going to be, I don't know what, times 3/2 equals 5. So now I'm looking at this. I see one group, two groups, three groups, and then this is a part of a group. I have one piece, and each group takes 3. So this is 3 1/3 is the answer. 5 divided by 3/2 is 3 1/3. I hope that you find this helpful. My advice for when you're doing tape diagrams, this is, okay, so number 1, decide how big to represent the 1. And what I mean by that is, like, here in this equation, or in this situation, because I was doing halves, my 1 is 2 squares. But up here, because I was doing thirds, 1 was 3 squares. It doesn't really matter how big or how small you represent the 1. Just do whatever makes the diagram easiest. So I always just do whatever the denominator is of the fraction. That's what I do. So decide how big to represent the 1. Number 2, draw a tape. Oops, that is not a word. Draw a tape that is as long as the dividend, and then make groups the size of the divisor. And then if you have leftovers, see how many you have divided by how, like what part of a new group. And then with the remainder, whatever leftovers is how much, or what, let's do this, what part of a group can you make? My handwriting's getting bad, but there you go. Okay, I hope you find this helpful. Have a great day.